Good afternoon, everybody. Peter Rees with CanesInSight live here from Lomelo's Meat Market. You guys see the address on the bottom of the ticker right now, 9810 South Dixie Highway, US 1, right past Dayland, about 10 minutes from campus. We're going live here from Lomelo's Meat Market Friday before Miami USF. Did a show this morning with D-Money talking USF. We're going to be more recruiting related today. As we've got some big news. Gabby reporting now in the last 20 minutes or so here that Calvin Russell, Derek Cooper, 2 5-stars, will be in attendance for Miami's game against South Florida tomorrow. Expecting a big list next week against Florida as well. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to kind of give you my thoughts, my opinion, assess what Miami has right now in the recruiting class. MB Kane saying, are we ordering up the Gator a week early from Lomelo's? Man, I gotta get them to have the Gator on the menu here at Lomelo's. Again, best in the game when it comes to Wagyu, Prime, Australian A5 Wagyu, Japanese, American. You guys see, this is what I was eating for the Notre Dame game, the Prime skirt steak, and I'm gonna be having it again this weekend. So this is the best in the business, guys, when it comes to not only steaks, but burgers, sausages, the sauces, the seasonings, everything that goes with it. You got a great wine selection here as well. And with promo code CIS10, you get 10% off your order. And as fans are saying here, we got to bring the electric juice this weekend, bagging up. Appreciate you for hopping on the call today. I've been here for 10 minutes. We've had about 3 or 4 customers come in here while I've been here in the store. So check it out. This is where you want to go for your tailgate. Stock up. And, man, got a big one tomorrow with USF in the building. But I really wanted to get to – and, yes, they do ship nationwide. Heel919 asking, do they ship to North Carolina? Nationwide shipping. So I should mention, if you are not local, if you can't make it in-store here to Lomelo's, nationwide shipping. And it will come as fresh as can be. So – check them out, man. This is as good as you're going to get when it comes to the meat. So, bagging up saying he didn't get his notification. I don't know why that happens, man. Unfortunately, I don't have control over the YouTube notification stuff. But big news within the last half hour here as Calvin Russell, again, saw him at the Notre Dame game. Derek Cooper was also at the Notre Dame game. And now to get them back out for the USF game, yes, still have some room to work with both of these guys. But I think with Russell in particular, you're looking at someone that is a heavy flip candidate for Miami. And I think I'll say it right now. I would say it's trending in that direction. Some people I've spoken to think it'll happen sooner rather than later. Some people I've spoken to think that this will happen later in the recruiting process, closer to a December. But right now, I'm feeling good about the progress Miami's making with Calvin Russell. Obviously, you feel good about what they have in the class right now, and we'll go position by position here in a second. I'll give you kind of my thoughts, my opinions on it, but it certainly looks like they're trying to add another receiver to this class with or without a Calvin Russell. You saw them offer Milan Paris, Iowa State commit the other day. So you got 3 commits in the class. We'll get into it here in a second, but Calvin Russell, I'm thinking he's going to be a flip here for Miami. Whether it happens here in the next couple of weeks, I don't know. But I think Miami's looking pretty good there. So, yeah, we'll get more into that. In terms of Derek Cooper, I know we've talked a lot about him. When he was trending towards Texas, people were not happy. People were telling us to stop talking about it already. But fact of the matter is the guy that Miami still wants. Miami's not out of the picture for. Going to be a tough flip from Texas, not an easy school to flip from, but they are not going away. Get him here for USF. You have a good showing. Hopefully get him here for Florida. We'll see what happens. Obviously, he had visited Miami a ton before and didn't visit Texas, so that didn't play into his decision at that point, but you want to keep the momentum moving there. Do they get back into it with a Jay Lamar running back? Potentially, but Miami's not giving up on Derek Cooper, so is it going to be a tough flip? Yes. But does that mean they're giving up? No. No, they aren't. And Bagging Up says people were extra salty. Yeah, People were not happy about that one, without a doubt. That was not, especially with the fact that he didn't visit Texas officially. That was something that people were just saying, hey, it's a bag, it's a bag. And look, could it be a little bit more money? I haven't seen what these offers directly were, but I think Miami has been very competitive in that space for Derek Cooper, and they're going to continue to be, based on what I understand, right? So let's see how this thing plays out. But obviously, if they want him back, and try to get him on campus, and not on campus, but to these games, I should say, as much as possible, then you're still in the picture there. Jay Lamar, the guy who at one point really wanted it, from what I understand, wanted in the Miami class. Miami, with JV and Mallory committed already, kind of told him, hold off a little bit. Whether that's the right decision or not, we'll see down the line here. But Miami wants Cooper. Can Lamar be back in the mix? We'll see. He's from what I understand, still a line of communication there with Miami, but at the same time, they want to keep Derek Cooper. So Canes Cats Heat 305 says, bring me some Lomelos. I'm looking at this prime skirt steak right here, and I'm can't wait to get this on the grill later. This weather is a little, Miami, if you guys have been down here the last few weeks, weather's been rough, but I will find a patch to get on the grill tonight to get this skirt steak on the grill. And again, got it all here at Lomelo's, New York strip, filet, Denver, which Denver is one of my personal favorites as well. The Wagyu burgers, the jalapeno cheddar sausages are out of control. So yeah, Canes Cat C305 says, I need some good dinner tonight. Get down to Lomelo's, man, and you get that 10% off with the CIS10 discount code. So I want to get into this recruiting class a little bit. We're about a month into the high school season. So this is me basing thoughts of what I've seen from the huddle stuff, what I just talking to people who I trust, who have seen a lot of these guys in person throughout the season so far, talking to people around the Miami program who have an idea about each of these guys individually. And we will start quarterback Darion Coleman, someone who has been committed here for a while. And quite frankly, I think the number one topic that's always going to come up with him is his size, right? How big is he? But basically, the thing with him is his arm talent is insane. His feel for the game at the position. He just, you see how he can just easily flick the ball. And my connection is it's not great here right now, so I don't want to show you guys highlights, and it's choppy, but the release is smooth. He's someone who, working with a Balin Trujillo, fundamentally very sound. He's not just a guy who's out there in a spread offense, slinging it around and doing his own thing out there. There's a lot that you really like there with the arm talent. I think the height, it's not so much the height that I'm concerned with. It's how strong can he get it? Can he put that good weight on? Will he have the core strength to, play at this level consistently? So is he a day one player for Miami? I don't think so. I think you're betting on the arm talent there in an air raid offense, in a Shannon Dawson scheme. And you have to really like that aspect of it, coming off the heels of a Luke Nickel who won at a very high level, who at Grayson, who, or Milton, excuse me, who was from a production standpoint, very consistent athletically, not a freak, but gives you enough there that, okay, a couple classes in a row now, stacking some highly talented quarterbacks. Are they gonna be the starters? Or we see what Miami has done in the portal. I still think Miami goes to the portal again next year. So developmentally, you like what you have there in the arm, but still wait and see mode in terms of that one. Running back position, we just kind of got into it here a second ago. You have Javion Mallory committed from West Boca. They're looking to add another. Derek Cooper, they're going to continue to push. He'll be here this weekend. Jay Lamar, does he circle back? Does he take a visit during the season here? I think you're going to see some interesting names pop up for that Florida game next week. Not to skip around in positions, but I think of Brett Kaloje. If you get him on campus, that's a sign that he's very much in the mix for Miami. If you get a Jay Lamar on campus, and this isn't the last opportunity next weekend for him to be on campus, but if you are able to push for them to get there for that game when Miami, if they win this game, will be 3-0, top 5 team in the country, maybe higher, maybe a top 3 or 4 team, depending on what happens this weekend, then you feel good about, you know, Miami being in the picture there. But so that's why I'm saying, like, next week, some of these names that emerge on that list that are maybe committed elsewhere, or, you know, a Jet Washington from Oregon, does he pop up on that list? How serious are these guys? Because if they take that visit, then you say, hey, there's something going on there legitimately. If they don't, I'm not saying it's the end all be all, but at the same time, you have to understand that next week's going to be the biggest game remaining on the schedule for Miami in terms of a home game hype standpoint. So you got to think Miami's going to be pushing to get some of those guys on that visit list. Bagging up asking, are we really developing any quarterbacks? So we kill the portal and there's no telling if we will actually have a starter we recruited and developed. I think this is, you know, that's a discussion, a full discussion for another day. Like I said, I've said time and time again with Cam Ward. Cam Ward was the talent that he was. Mario Cristobal and Shannon Dawson did not turn him into the #1 pick in the draft, but Mario and Shannon Dawson and Alex Mirabal provided him with the tools around him to go from being a late round pick to undrafted free agent, which is what he was before he came to Miami, to, hey, here's your offensive line, here's your run game, here's some receivers on the outside who, as we saw, none of them were draft picks, but some reliable targets, some guys who can be really good college receivers for you. And you see what happens with Cam Ward. He takes off and he flourishes. Carson Beck, we know what the narrative was with him coming into the offseason, coming into Miami this offseason, and then 2 games. But I think we can all say that Miami and Alex Mirabal and Mario Cristobal and Shannon Dawson have provided him with tools with the tools that he needs to help himself improve his stock, right? Is Shannon Dawson turning him into a more talented quarterback? His talent was what it was, but I think we can let the results speak for themselves here, which is why it's like, if you can do it now 2 years in a row with Beck, why wouldn't you do it, another year with pretty much your choice of quarterback? Not completely, but I think you guys know what I'm saying. So not to go too much onto that side of it, but that's why I've been so hard pressed on saying, let's go get another transfer quarterback. So running back Javion Mallory, he's solidly locked in. Can you get Cooper to flip? Will Jay Lamar be the answer there? Is a Lecky Tompkins, who's committed to Louisville, was at Miami for Notre Dame, has a lot of interest in the Canes, also being looked at potentially on the defensive side of the ball. But is he someone who could play running back for Miami? They want to add another there. Who it's going to be, we'll see how that kind of plays out. So moving along to the wide receiver position, 3 commits. You got to feel good about these guys right now. Samorian Wingo, St. Augustine, just shut down his commitment yesterday. This is a guy who, Miami was involved with his recruitment over the summer, over the spring, but really you saw Miami make that push when you lose out on a Calvin Russell, when it became clear that a Tristan Keys wasn't going to be in your class. So you made that push. He's had a phenomenal early start to the season. Really impressed with him. Getting questions here about Jalen Waters. He's going to be visiting Texas this weekend. You've seen now with a few of these guys. Ashari Charles, supposed to visit Florida State, ends up canceling that. Miami gets him to shut down his process. Samorian Wingo visits Florida last week. Miami shuts down the process. What's going on, man? How you doing? We're here live at LaMelo's, guys. Got some customers coming in here. It's great to see here. Get stocked up for your tailgate tomorrow. Not only for your tailgate, but if you're nationwide, get those orders in. If you're not local, make sure to stock up for football season here, man. This is the best in the business here, LaMelo's Meat Market. So what I was getting at here with this question with Jalen Waters is, you've seen some of these guys go take visits and shut down. There's a part of the process here that's a business, and I think if guys show interest elsewhere, Miami then shortly thereafter is able to get them to shut the process down. That's a part of the business. So I'm not overly concerned there. It's always something to monitor. You look at a Texas, they have the firepower to battle with anyone. But early on, I'm not overly concerned with that one. Danny Boy Kane, appreciate you hopping on here. Good afternoon to you. Bagging up, we're talking about JV and Mallory. Mallory is more special than most are giving him credit for. His vision, instincts, and footwork are better than Cooper. Cooper, to me, as a linebacker, would be, if I had the choice, I would play him there. But obviously, there's factors in the recruitment that you kind of have to do to make sure you land the kids. So I'm not completely disagreeing with you there. I think Cooper does have some special stuff in terms of just the power and the long speed that Mallory doesn't quite frankly have. But that's that. So receiver, Samorian Wingo has looked awesome. Just shut down his commitment. Van Spafford in there as a sub 4.4 guy, slot type speed. He's been banged up. I think that's my one concern with him moving forward is body type. Can he put that weight on to stay healthy? We saw Braxton Berrios when he came into Miami put on some really good weight, and it's allowed him to go on and have this great career in the NFL. If Spafford was rated higher than Berrios was at the time coming out, but it's not like Berrios was a scrub recruit, right? But Berrios did come in here. Took him a couple years to get going. Let's remember that. But I think that with Spafford, the speed that he brings to the table, the skill set he brings to the table at the slot is very unique. It's what you want to continue to add to Miami's offense as we look at, hey, what is missing from the offense right now. And I think a lot of it will still show itself over time, but you're looking for that explosive, game-changing, game-breaking speed. So Van Spafford brings that to you again, putting that weight on, being able to maintain that speed, staying healthy, all things that, as we've seen with certain guys at Miami right now, availability is your best ability. Tyron Evans, to me, has been the biggest, maybe top 2 or 3 risers in Miami's class this summer. It's not summer anymore, but early part of the summer into the season now was a Tennessee commit. Miami flips him. Tennessee was trying to keep him committed. This guy's legit 6'3" and a half. D-Money and I saw him the other day on campus after the Notre Dame game. 215 pounds, and he is moving and running. You see how they line him up across the board, not just throwing him deep balls, but if you watch his huddle from last week, lining him up in the slot, you see his movement ability, his feet like a little guy. So there's things when you watch him that you say, hey, that could translate pretty quickly at the next level. Now, it's not just the physical tools. We understand that, but there's going to be an opportunity again at Miami next year, not to look too far ahead, but receiver-wise, you're losing, I believe, Keelan Marion this last year eligibility. CJ Daniels is gone. So that's two of your top guys right there. Tony Johnson, who I think you'll see him gradually get more reps as the season goes on, and he's a veteran. You're gonna lose a lot of those guys. You're excited about the youth. Dalen Upshaw coming on. Malachi Tony, we don't even talk about him. Josh Morris, he continues to get more reps and get more consistent. But there's going to be an opportunity there. And I think Tyron Evans physically is coming in ready to go right off the bat. So New King asking over under 3.5 flips to Miami. I'm going to go over because I'm also throwing in, the thing is that I think a lot of you guys maybe are thinking about the big names, maybe, the Derek Coopers, James Johnson, who's also committed to Texas, Calvin Russell, right? These are the big names. And there's some other guys that Miami's working on that are committed elsewhere. They're going to flip a D lineman or two that are committed to other schools that maybe, this morning D-Money and I talked about him. Frederick, let me get the name. Frederick Saintis from originally from Haiti, over in Naples now. So he's committed to an FAU. So there's guys like him, some other D linemen that I know that they're kind of scouring on, committed to smaller programs. So I think you'll get a couple of those guys committed to smaller programs maybe. I'm not counting Calvin Russell in that mix, even though Syracuse is a smaller program. This isn't a Texas, a Georgia, some of these other programs we're talking about. But I'm not counting him in that mix. I'm talking more about guys that we aren't at the top of our head thinking of right at this moment. So I'm going over with that one. And I'm probably missing someone off the top of my head. Later, brother. Good seeing you. Nick West saying, let's go with some D-Money type optimism. Yeah, man, I'm getting good vibes. I'm getting good vibes from the recruiting side right now. as I just continue to go through this list of commits. And yeah, we'll look at the offensive line now, and just wrapping things up at receiver. I think you're going to end up with 4 in this class. Could there be a wild card? Could a Calvin Russell flip? Then you have 4 committed. Then a Nick Lanier reclassify, and you want to add him to the mix. I'm not going to count that out of the equation. Could a Tennessee horrendous season and Miami continuing to push on Tristan Keys be a bomb at the end of the process? I don't see that happening, but he's someone that if Miami had 4 guys in the class and Tristan Keys was still kind of on the radar, Miami's in that playoff, Miami's undefeated at the end of the season sort of thing, and you're getting towards signing day and the momentum's all there, and Tennessee has a stinker of a year, then where does that – I don't know. I can't look into the crystal ball there, but I know that if a guy like Nick Lanier or Tristan Keys wanted to commit when you already had 4 commits at the class, they're not going to tell someone to leave the class to bring that one in. So we'll see what happens there. Offensive line. I don't think any of us really ever worry about offensive line with Mario Cristobal and Alex Mirabal. There's obviously the number 1 player in the country is an offensive lineman committed to committed to Miami, Jackson Cantwell. So you have your cornerstone of the class with him. He's a candidate to start right away at Miami. We haven't seen it much in terms of true freshman CeCe Mawanoa being the outlier right now. And, obviously he's been very special. He's lived up to all those expectations. Cantwell, I don't expect to be much different there, but there will be a learning process with him. I'm thinking right tackle with him, right off the bat. Joel Irvin, another guy that, as D-Money keeps saying, he's a 6-star recruit. And I think he's really should be a high 4-star recruit in this process. Someone that Alex Mirabal went out to go see last week. He's a solid commit in this class. And he's someone at 6'6", 330 that the sky's the limit for him. The way that he moves as he continues to develop. Between Cantwell, Irvin, and Ben Congdon, the potential of those 3 at the tackle spot. Congdon, wrestler, flexibility, 300 pounds now. As I was talking to his coach a few weeks ago, he's put on 15, 20 pounds in the last year and moving extremely well with it. So love the tackle class. Cannon Pickett, we saw him taking wildcat snaps, at quarterback and scoring for his team. His film looks awesome early on in the year as a guard prospect for Miami. So love Cannon Pickett, Reese Woodrow, JJ Sparks, your 2 center prospects. I think that, I probably have Woodrow a bit ahead of Sparks right now, just in my personal opinion. I like the dual sport background. I like the size that Woodrow brings to the table. But Sparks, center position is sometimes you can't judge always based off of, what meets the eye in terms of the measurables, in terms of the tape. There's a lot more behind the scenes that goes into it. And I know that Miami loves JJ Sparks in terms of what he brings to the game mentally. The communication, as we've seen with James Brockermeyer early on, has been very important for Miami's success. We'll say against Notre Dame because Bethune, I don't know that it really matters as much there, but we'll see it again tomorrow as USF tries to bring creative pressures with 5-6 man blitzes. So that the offensive line spot, I expect them to go in the portal next year. I expect them to maybe go get 1 or 2 of the top guys available in the portal based on what I don't want to say what I'm hearing, but looking at it, you're going to be in a position of power if you're Miami, if you're Mario Cristobal, Alex Mirabal, and you can go get, as they've done. They went out and got Matt Lee, who was one of the top guys in the portal. James Brockermeyer, same thing. Zach Carpenter was a wanted man, maybe not as heralded, but he was very solid for Miami. Markel Bell, not a portal guy, but JUCO, and he was the number 1 JUCO offensive lineman in the country coming out. So he was wanted. And he came here without a promise of knowing that he'd start game one. So, and he's worked himself into the position of the starter. But I'm just saying, like, you're going to be in a position where you can go get someone. So you're very excited about a Kinsler, Tommy Kinsler. You're excited about a Pancake Samson Okunlola. You love the progress he's made. He should be a starter for Miami next year. But you're losing potentially 4 starters here. We'll see what happens with Bell, but let's say Mauanoa, let's say Brockermeyer, let's say Inez Cooper, 3 for sure. Bell remains to be seen what happens there. McCoy, he could go. I mean, I think it's a long season, but there's people in the building that think if he has a super strong season, he could be out. So you're replacing 3 to 4 guys on the line potentially, and that's going to be something that I would say they go to the portal for. Flipping over to the other side of the ball now, defensive line, and I think to me, I want to be careful how I say this. I don't want to say it's a disappointment to this point, but in the interior, I would like them to have more. You look at Anthony Kennedy, big body. He's a guy that you just look at in terms of the measurables at 6'3.5", 335. That's what you want to see. But I think he's more of a developmental guy at this point. Tyson Bacon has had some good early film. He's Miami's lowest rated recruit in the class right now, but I think a potential rotational guy down the line. The size, I think that's going to be the biggest question mark concern with him. I think he's at like 260, 265 right now, has some inside-outside versatility, but good athlete. If you can put the weight on, get up to like 295 range, 300 as a 3-tech, I think that would be, a really nice piece for them rotationally there. Ashari Charles, to me, is the best commit in the class right now on the defensive line. Explosive, power, just that quick first step. And once he can get that, I don't want to call it an array of pass rush moves, because you don't need 7 moves if you're a guy like him with the burst that he has. But if he can hone in on a couple things that just become his go-to move and counter move, and he can clean up some things from a technique standpoint, working with Jason Taylor, even Damian Lewis. There's some people inside Miami that think this guy could be a future 3-tech. I mean, Ashari Charles is like 250 right now. So to me, that's your prize recruit in the class. You did a good job of holding off Florida State, trying to make a push there. You get him to close the process down. Hopefully that holds with all these guys that are saying that they're shutting it down. But I'm a huge Ashari Charles fan. In terms of potential flips there, you have Tank Jones was in Miami for Notre Dame. I think that is working in a positive direction, but nothing imminent there. Oregon is a very tough school to flip kids from, the way it currently stands, with the way that some of these NIL contracts are. It's one of those states where money is owed back if a guy is already kind of getting paid. So it becomes a more expensive situation for Miami, but the kid loves Miami, loves what's going on down here. Oregon's not exactly outside of just the NIL side of it. It's not. They have some good stuff going on over there, so it's not they're not in a weak position. They're maybe the best team in the country right now. They're also a top 3 to 5 team like Miami. Everything that we understand in terms of the momentum that they have is positive right now. But Miami's pushing there, continuing to work. Nolan Wilson, things have maybe gone a little quiet there. But if Miami can get him back, there was some talk he would be on campus for Notre Dame weekend. Did not happen. Can you get him here for Florida? He's one of those guys that I have circled. If he doesn't come to Florida game weekend, then to me that's a tougher one to flip. If he gets there, then I have my eyes laser focused on that recruitment down the stretch. So we talked about those guys. We talked about the new offer, J.D. Hill, this morning, who is Van Spafford's teammate at Mission Viejo. So both him, Frederick Sanctus, he's the other one that we talked about this morning, who is a current FAU commit. I think you'll flip one of those guys, maybe another name that we haven't heard just yet, who has the traits that you're looking for, that is a late bloomer. so to speak. So I'm keeping my eye on all those sorts of guys. James Johnson, another one. I've been told on him from the beginning of the summer here. Well, beginning of camp, end of summer, I should say. After the whole his flip from Georgia to Texas happened, is Miami's going to push there, but don't expect, if something happens there, don't expect something to happen until closer to signing day. Miami didn't want to get into engage in a bidding war, so to speak, on one that you understand has already flipped once in a situation that some could speculate was one like that. So why kind of sound the alarms right now? He visited for the Notre Dame game. I still think it's going to be a tough one to flip there. I would say Tank Jones is a better chance of him right now, but yeah, I think they'll keep working there. So we'll see what happens on that one. Linebacker, really like J.J. Edwards in this class, man. I think that was an awesome flip. From what I understand, Demetrius Campbell from last year's class was the one that kind of helped Miami get on that one, kind of say, hey, look, this guy can play. You guys better be on him. I forget where he was committed previously, but between Justin Edwards at linebacker and Jordan Campbell, who had a really good game to start the season at Northwestern, and very twitchy guy. I mean, he's someone who plays more of as a stand-up edge rusher right now, so he's going to have to make that adjustment. Or maybe he's a Malik Bryant sort, but I think he'll be more of an off-ball linebacker at Miami. And he shows the twitchiness. Now, we'll see what happens when he gets in the system, but he's got the tools, so excited about him. 6'2", 205 or so, and he's got the frame to put on some good weight there. Defensive backfield, Jalen Waters, we talked about him. He's been a pretty solid commit here for Miami for some time. He's visiting Texas this weekend, but like I said, hopefully we get one of these. We'll be shutting it down announcements next week from him. Camden Portis has been a big riser for me in this process out of Charlotte. Obviously, Clinton Portis' son, but he's had a strong start to the year. Knows for the football, pesky, natural nickel. So you're not going to have to retrain him from the outside corner spot or from safety. So to me, he's someone who you get him in the system, you get some good weight on him, and in a year or two, man, you got a really good player there potentially in Camden Portis. Cortez Redding and Jontavius Wyman, the teammates from Jonesboro High School in Georgia, and neither of them have had updated huddle, so it's hard to say what they've done this season. Like, I haven't been able to watch any of their stuff, but Miami really likes what they've seen from both of those guys. Will Harris, Zach Etheridge doing a great job in those recruitments. Minka Fitzpatrick, he's a potential flip candidate. He's one of those that's committed to a big program in Georgia that is more on the forefront of our minds, and they're working there, man. Mario, Minka had a relationship during their recruitment. Minka back in Miami now. You would think that he's going to be here for the next couple of years, maybe finish. You never know what happens at the end of someone's career, but you think he's here. Let me not speak too early here, because who knows what happens to the Dolphins here the next year. But he's back here in South Florida, and I think there's something in play there with Minka Fitzpatrick. Aiden Pouncey, someone that D-Money talks about a lot at defensive back. Let me see if I missed anyone here down the commitment list. Oh, Brody Jennings. He's another one that I would say in terms of risers is up there with Tyron Evans to me as someone who's had phenomenal season, a top 300 player, former Michigan commit, but on tape is moving, physical as heck, special teams player, size. You tell me what I'm missing there. Got the ball skills. Had two picks, a pick six last week. I don't see how that guy is not a top 300. That's a top 150 sort of player to me. So, yeah, guys, let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with anything I've said there on some of these risers. But I think there's been some really good evaluations in this class from Miami. Jennings, it's tough to call that evaluation. He's a legacy. He was committed to Michigan, but Miami made the push in spring on him. They didn't wait. They said, we got to get this done now because we know what's going to happen if the season starts. Samori and Wingo, could you say that there was a bit of desperation there at the time because Miami really didn't know what was happening? At wide receiver, he was really one of your top rated guys available. Yes, but still, they made that decision with conviction, and it's turned out to be a looks like a darn good one, right? So JJ Edwards, you make that call on him, and he flips pretty quickly, and you're seeing the type of speed, the playmaking ability, blocking punts, scoring touchdowns, sacks, forced fumbles, just a pure playmaker. So, yeah, man, really liking what I'm seeing right now with a lot of these guys, with their, especially the guys who weren't necessarily the top recruits, heading into their recruiting process with Miami. They weren't the high 4 stars, 5 stars. So, yeah, guys, just again, hanging out with you guys here live at Lomelo's Meat Market. Stock up at Lomelo's. You see the address here on the bottom, 9810 South Dixie Highway, Miami, Florida, right past Dayland. We're always talking about East Las Canarias Express. Go get your croquetas over there and then stock up for the weekend here at Lomelo's. You see this prime skirt steak right here. This is what I'm putting on the grill tonight when this rain slows down a little bit. And if you're nationwide, lomelos.com, promo code CIS10 for 10% off. Got some big boys in town tomorrow in the stadium, I should say. Derek Cooper, Calvin Russell, 5 stars. Can Miami continue to make a push with them? Let's see. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Canes Cat C305 says that's what he's buying tonight. Let him know, man. Promo code CIS10. Thank you all for tuning in this rainy afternoon. Second show of the day. We don't stop here at CanesInSight. Thank you all for watching.